Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the MLB slate for Tuesday. We have a monster 13-game slate tonight. Let's go ahead and get into it. As always, if you enjoy the videos, appreciate it for the like button, subscribe. If you have not already, you can check out all the other links down below in the description. If you want to play on PrizePicks, use my code PROCESS for a deposit match up to $100. And let's go ahead and get started. So, a lot of games today. Looking over at Fantasy Labs, looking at their lineup tool. It's pretty helpful, especially when there's a huge slate like this, just being able to see everything on one page. So first game up, we have the Angels against the Yankees. Here, Noah Syndergaard's strikeout stuff have basically disappeared since his days with the Mets. Years ago, his velocity's come down a bit. On the season, he's been decent as a pitcher. He had one really terrible performance in his second to last start, but I have no interest in playing him against the Yankees. For a guy that only has 27 strikeouts in 38 innings, it's just not worth it for me. Montgomery on the other side, also I don't want to really play him. The Angels have a lot of righties here, and they have a lot of good righties with Trout. Obviously, Taylor Ward has been having a crazy good season. Ohtani, lefty, but he can still hit lefties well. So I'm not interested in Montgomery, and he's also not a great strikeout pitcher. Don't have much interest in the pitching options in this next game. You can look to some of the bats here. I really don't have much fun stacking the Orioles, but they did go off yesterday. Mountcastle at $2,800 would be one that sticks out if you needed a cheap hitter. And then on the Mariners side, you have a decent price tag on Jesse Winker. Euler Rodriguez has been great for them in his rookie season. And Kyle Lewis came back from injury. He's only 31. Probably should get higher priced as he gets back into rhythm. We have the White Sox against the Blue Jays here. I like Kevin Gausman as a pitcher. He was great last season with the Giants, and he got a nice contract from the Blue Jays in the offseason, and he's been paying it off so far, and think that can continue. The White Sox strike out a good amount, and they're dealing with some injuries right now with Tim Anderson and Eloy Jimenez, so that lineup is pretty weak compared to where it will be at full strength. They got some strikeouts at the bottom of the order, so I do like Gausman as a pitcher, and that's why they only have a 3.5 total. Next game up, we have pretty good lineup with the Mets that we can look to against Corbin. Corbin struggles with giving up some power and giving up some home runs. He's given up 6 home runs so far this season, not a crazy amount, but they've all been against right-handed hitters, and you got a bunch of good righties here with Starling Marte, Lindor, Pete Alonso. Mark Canha's good against lefties. You have Escobar, switch hitter. So I do like the Mets as a potential stack today. The Twins against the Tigers, don't have much interest in the pitching options here. In terms of the bats, you can look to some of the Twins. Buxton is still kind of been in a slump, but lefty and Kyle Garlick is at only $2,200. Makes a lot of sense. He's good against lefties, and the price tag is so cheap, and he's going to be batting top half of the lineup. So Kyle Garlick would be one that really sticks out. Don't have much interest in the Detroit Tigers bats. They're just not a team I really get to. That lineup is pretty putrid. We have the Red Sox getting very disappointing last night, going up against a good pitcher in Castillo, who can get blown up at times with the power. So if I was looking at anybody, I look to Verdugo just based on his price tag. Otherwise, you can still look at JD Martinez, Bogarts, Devers. But the Red Sox, there's some other teams I'm looking at stacking today, so they're not on my top of the list. We have Adam Wainwright against Blake Snell. I'm not looking at Snell against a team that will have 8 right-handed bats here, so it's just not a spot I'm looking to get to. And then Wainwright has been a workhorse this year, but I just don't really want to get to him either at 87. There's some other pitchers that I like. It's probably a stay-away game for me. We got the wind blowing out in Wrigley again. Didn't really work out yesterday, but the hitters that we did have did go yard, a couple of them. Taylor went yard in both games. The catcher went yard in Caratini, so it wasn't terrible. And then Morel had another stolen base, and he continues to steal bags. He's at a very good price tag. The Cubs look decent just based on their pricing. Morel, Schwindel at 34. You got the rookie that they just brought called up from Double-A, and Nelson Velasquez. He's got a hit in his first 2 games. He's only 2K. And then on the Brewer side, you got a bunch of cheap guys as well with Andrew McCutchen batting leadoff, but I'd be looking at Taylor once again. He's hot right now. The wind blowing out. Sign me up for him again. Brasso looks all right, and then you got cheap guys at the bottom of the order. We got Martin Perez, been very good for the Texas Rangers this season, pitching-wise. He's pitches to contact, but he's gotten some okay strikeout stuff this year. Below 1 strikeout per inning, he's like 0.8, but he gets you a lot of ground balls, and he can work deep into the game. Going up against a lot of righties here. It's not my favorite, but he's typically a guy that doesn't give up home runs just because he's just pitching to ground balls. We got a Coors game here, but it's not really that appealing of a Coors game, I could say, just with the weather. It's only 49 degrees, so the ball is going to be carrying a lot less than it typically will. There might be some rain concerns, so the pricing isn't great on some of these guys. I mean, if you wanted to go to anybody, look to like Avisail Garcia, look to Jesus Sanchez on the Miami side. On the Rocky side, you have some cheap guys like Hilliard, but this is not a game I feel great about, just with the weather. We got the Braves against Castellanos. The Braves, you have Acuna at 61. He's going to be very expensive, but he's always a great one-off player as part of a stack. The Braves look okay. They're not my top 2 or 3 stacks today. They're probably like 4th or 5th. We got some good pitching options this next game. You can look to both of the guys, but I prefer Javier just with pitching on the road. He gets a nice ballpark upgrade. He gives you elite strikeout stuff, and the Astros have a much better lineup, so you get some much better matchup there. And then the Dodgers got Mookie Betts went yard again. Edwin Rios went yard again last night. This team gives you a lot of power, and going up against Mitch Keller, sign me up for some of these guys, especially the lefties like Freeman, Rios. Betts is just on an absolute tear, so he always makes the cut. So that's going through each game. Looking at the pitching options on DraftKings, first guy I'm going to put in here is going to be Christian Javier at $9,600. Just gives you elite strikeout stuff. Not really worried about Oakland's bats here. They have a good amount of righties in the lineup, and back-to-back 9 strikeout performances. He's thrown over 90 pitches in each of the last 2 starts, and he's been very consistent. Now that his first 3 starts, he didn't top 60 pitches, but since then, you've seen him go pretty deep in the game, except for that game against Detroit, which probably was like some rain concern or something because he was pitching well. Had one bad start against Washington on the road, but nothing to really worry about here. It has pretty poor stuff on the road, but it's mainly due to that Washington start, and you don't really see that many pitchers getting blown up in Oakland, just with how deep and how big of a ballpark it is. And then the second guy looks like I'm going to be paying up at pitcher a bit. I'll go with Gausman as my second pitcher at 97. Just like the matchup now with the White Sox not being 100% in the lineup. Gausman gives you awesome strikeout stuff. He has 65 Ks and 56 innings, only 5 walks as well, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So he's not really getting into a lot of trouble, not putting runners on base too often with the walks, and he goes deep in the games. He's gotten you over 104 pitches, 2 out of his last 4 starts. Other pitching options I would be considering in the mid-range would be, you could make an argument for Martin Perez if you wanted to play him. He's pitched well, but a lot of righties in the Tampa lineup. But you could make it work if you wanted to go affordable there. You have in the 7K range, you have Michael Wacha against the Reds. The Reds started off the season absolutely awful, but they've been winning some games recently. But Wacha is a guy that, unlike Gausman, can get in trouble with the walks. It doesn't have great strikeout stuff, but he doesn't get it with the worst matchup against Cincinnati. So if you wanted a cheap pitcher, I would probably look to Michael Wacha, and that's kind of it. You could make a case for like Marquez if you wanted to be pretty contrarian, but I think that's only if you're making a bunch of teams in tournaments, and definitely not looking at anybody below Marquez here at all. So going over to first base, you got a bunch of good options at the top end here with it being 13 games. Almost every team is in action. So Goldschmidt against the lefty and Snell is appealing as a one-off play. I love Pete Alonso here against the lefty and Corbin. If looking to pay up, those would be the 2 of my favorite options. Going in the value range, you have potentially like Josh Bell. He's just really affordable at $3,500. We have a couple of other cheap guys that we can look to, like on the Red Sox bats. Cordero continues to be very affordable. And then if you're also looking to pay up, you can consider getting to Freddie Freeman. Over at second base, top end, you basically just have Trevor Story. I don't know why Drury's priced all the way up to 55. I mean, he's not on my list. I'd be looking to get to Story if I'm paying up. But second base typically can pay down a bit with the value that we do have most of the time. Today would be like Morel once again continues to get on base, and if he's on base, continues to steal bags. He has another stolen base last game, and that gives him 4 stolen bases in his last 5 games. So just based on the price tag, I think he looks pretty appealing. Moving on to third base, this is a spot where if you're looking to pay up, third base and shortstop typically position I like to pay up, and first base most of the time. Devers looks good against Castillo, even though he does give you some strikeout stuff, but Devers having a great season. Going for a value pick, I'm going to go ahead and put in Rios just because he continues to be really nicely priced. With Max Muncy on the IL, going to get a lot of playing time, and And like I mentioned yesterday, he's been deserving of it. Continues to do good things when he's out there. Gives you some, does strike out a lot, but he also gives you a lot of power and home runs. So, if he's not striking out, he's probably going to put the ball in play and hit it deep if he gets at least a fly ball there. So, but 34 Ks and 80 at bats is definitely not appealing. But Mitch Keller, do we really have to worry about him striking a lot of guys out? I really don't think so. He has a 6.05 ERA. Probably won't be in there more than, hasn't even topped more than 5 innings in 4 straight starts and gotten out of the 4th in the last start. So, do like Rios at that price tag, definitely. At shortstop, you got a lot of good options to pay up at shortstop as well with Trey Turner or Lindor. Those would be my top 2. I can make a case for Bogarts as well. And then you needed to go with some cheap guys here. Scrolling down, Javier Baez having a poor season for Detroit, but he's down to 42 against a righty. So he's better against lefty, so he's probably not on my list. It's just a spot where I'll probably pay up for one of the top guys. Moving on to the outfield, got some good options here. First guy will be Taylor. Got some good value. Continues to be very affordable. You can look to play him against any sort of lefty, and he's getting a lot of playing time right now just with the injuries they're dealing with. He went yard in both games. Had him in the night game, and he also got you another run scored with a walk. So he's just so cheap right now. Gets a good matchup with the wind blowing out against Steele, a lefty. Sign me up for him. And then the other guy that I can consider in the outfield would be a cheap guy from the Mets, and that can be Mark Canha at $3,000. Go with 2 guys that are very affordable, both getting against both right-handed bats that are powerful, especially against lefties. And Mark Canha is having a pretty good stretch right now, 293 in his last 10 games, only 7 strikeouts as well. Then I'll go back to first base and put in Pete Alonso. He's also been having a great season. He's up to, I think, almost 50 RBIs already. 47 RBIs, 13 bombs. In his last 10, he's batting .324 with 3 bombs and also only 6 strikeouts. And Corbin gives up a lot of power, so I have a lot of interest in getting to a couple of these Mets. So today, the Mets, Dodgers, Brewers would be my top 3 stacks today. So that's it for DK. Let's go ahead and touch on FanDuel. So over on FanDuel, it's the same deal that I'm looking at with my bats here. So I plugged in Pete Alonso at first base and catcher. I plugged in Rios at only $2,600 at third base. And I put in Taylor at only $26, and I put in Morel at first, or in the outfield at only $26, just with the stolen base upside that he gives you, batting leadoff. He also gets an okay matchup. Eric Lauer's been good this year, but you can always target a right-handed bat against Lauer as just like a one-off. I'm not looking to stack the Cubs, but you're getting a guy that gives you stolen base upside. Hopefully, they can maybe steal one off like a reliever if he's able to get on base. Tougher to steal against lefties. But pitcher, I plugged in Gausman. He's only 10-2. You can make a case to get to like Javier at 87 if you needed to go cheaper than that. But don't think it doesn't make too much of a difference for me with the value that we have with third base with Rios, with Taylor here. So I don't think I need to break the bank with some of these bats. So that's what I got. Even plugging in Gausman, he still left you with $3,200. So it'd either be Kevin Gausman or Javier for me at pitcher. Nobody else would make the cut. So we'll see if I end up making any changes before the slate starts. That's what I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tonight, and I will see you all next time.